Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something maybe a little bit different. We're taking a piece of content that, on the surface looks pretty simple.
Right.
But we're going to unpack it and see just how powerful it can be as a learning tool. That's really our mission today.
Yeah.
Exploring that hidden genius in its design.
Exactly. And our source material, it's excerpts from an English learning resource called The Lazy Man, a cautionary tale for English learners.
Okay.
Now, you hear short story, you might think, yeah, okay, pretty simple stuff. But what we're digging into is how it's not just a story.
Right.
It's really engineered, specifically built to teach English. We're talking beginners, intermediate learners.
How does it do that?
Through, targeted listening practice, building up essential vocabulary, and it delivers this really clear moral lesson too, all done with very clear, natural-sounding English.
Yeah.
So our job is to dissect how it works so well.
So, for you listening, what you can expect to get from this deep dive is hopefully a much better grasp on how really effective learning materials are put together. We're going beyond the obvious stuff, looking for those deliberate pedagogical choices that make content really stick.
Make it memorable.
Exactly. And you might even get some insights into your own learning process, whatever you're learning. See the design behind good education. Okay, let's dive right in then. The core of it. The story of the lazy man. Any good learning tool, especially for language, needs a solid foundation, right? Something engaging.
Definitely.
And this story, it drops us right in. We meet Tom, our main guy, in this very quiet little village. And what's amazing is how fast it nails his key trait. He's very lazy, doesn't like to do anything. It doesn't just tell you, it kind of shows you immediately, paints a picture.
And that immediate clarity, that's pedagogically brilliant. It really lowers the cognitive load.
Cognitive load, explain that a bit.
Okay, so think about your brain's working memory. It's limited, right? If the story was super complex, lots of plots, confusing characters, weird timeline.
Yeah, you'd get lost just trying to follow it.
Exactly. The learner would use all their mental energy just figuring out the plot, not the language. But by keeping it simple, Tom, villagers, rich man, quiet village, it frees up that brain space.
So they can focus on the English itself.
Precisely. Absorbing the words, the sentence structure, the rhythm, the intonation, all that good stuff. It's like clearing the path so the language can just flow in.
And it paints such a clear picture, too, the contrast. While everyone else is, working in the fields, took care of animals or cooked food, Tom, he just sat under a tree doing nothing all day. It's visual, makes lazy really concrete.
Absolutely. It defines lazy through context, not complex dictionary definitions.
Yeah.
Just perfect for a learner. And then you get Tom's little catchphrases.
Oh, yeah, like, why do they work so hard? Life is short. We should rest.
Right. And his friend's asking, Tom, why don't you get a job?
And his classic reply.
Maybe tomorrow. Today I'm too tired. These aren't just random lines. They're foundational phrases, high-frequency stuff.
So hearing them repeated helps.
Immensely. They get absorbed naturally as conversational chunks, not just single words. Easier to remember, easier to use. It's building that core vocabulary from the start, nice and clear, natural pace. A perfect example of, modeling real conversation. Hashtag 1.2. The conflict, missed opportunities, and escalating excuses.
Okay, so the story moves on. We get the inciting incident, which is also a teaching moment, really nicely done. A rich man shows up. He's planning to build a new house near the river. And the key part, he needed workers. Boom. Opportunity knocks.
Yeah, it sets up a clear choice for Tom. And for the learner, it's a super common scenario, right?
Yeah.
Work, opportunity. Very relatable.
So that first chat between Tom and the rich man.
Oh, it's a little masterclass in simple, effective language teaching. The rich man asks Tom if he wants work.
And Tom's response.
Work? No, sir. It's too hot today. Maybe tomorrow.
So relatable. Who hasn't felt like that?
True. And it uses such common, practical English. Phrases you could actually use. But the rich man's reaction is just as important for learning.
What does she do?
He just nodded and left. Then, crucially, he found other workers and started building his house.
Ah, so the consequence is immediate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Clearly shown, no fuss, just simple, direct English, no complex words, just natural dialogue modeling a real situation. A great practical speaking tool right there.
But the story doesn't just let the opportunity disappear. It's clever. It says the rich man comes back a few days later.
Right.
And guess where Tom is?
Still under the tree.
Still under the tree. And the rich man, he persists. He asks again, Tom, I still need workers. Do you want to help now? It highlights that the chance is still there.
And this is where that repetition with variation really works its magic, pedagogically speaking. Tom's second excuse.
What is it this time?
I think it might rain. I don't want to get wet. I'll help. Maybe next week.
So similar excuse, slightly different words.
Precisely. It subtly slips in. New vocabulary might rain, get wet, but inside a structure, the learner already gets. The maybe tomorrow idea becomes maybe next week. It reinforces that procrastination theme, but with fresh language.
So it introduces new words without being scary?
Exactly. Low-stakes learning. And what's fascinating teaching-wise is the rich man's consistency. He didn't waste time.
Just hires others.
Yep. Hired other workers and finished the house in 2 weeks. It just shows the result of diligence versus delay, the morals being built right into the plot.
So those repeated interactions rich man acts, Tom delays, they drill in the language in the lesson.
Absolutely. Cause and effect, clear as day, shown through the narrative. Brilliant way to demonstrate consequences. Great use of that repetition and interaction principle. Hashtag tag 1.3, the climax and resolution, facing the consequences.
Okay, so time marches on, and the story heads towards, well, the inevitable end for Tom, given his choices.
The logical outcome.
Time passed. Tom still had no job. He had no money. He started feeling hungry every day, but he had nothing to eat. It's just laid out so clearly. The consequences are unavoidable, easy to follow.
And when Tom finally drags himself to the rich man's house, the description, it's simple, but really hits you. He's looking weak and tired.
Yeah.
It gets across his humbled state with really basic but emotionally charged language. The learner doesn't just understand intellectually, they kind of feel it.
Makes the lessons stick more.
Definitely. Makes it real, even with simple words.
And Tom's plea, it's so direct. Sir, I'm very hungry. Can you please give me some food? Just basic human need.
And the rich man's response, this is the core message delivery. Calm, firm, no judgment. He just says, I asked you many times to work. You said no. Now you are hungry, and I'm sorry. I cannot help you.
Wow, direct.
Very. And the learner gets that cause and effect purely from the dialogue. No lecture needed. It's just reality. And what's really interesting is that contrast again.
The rich man's consistency versus Tom's.
Exactly. The rich man is steady, reliable. Tom's all over the place with excuses. That contrast makes the moral powerful. And the language the rich man uses, simple, polite, but firm, and it teaches about direct communication too. Clear, natural English in a tricky situation.
And the ending is quiet, isn't it? Tom just leaves.
Yeah. Tom stood quietly. He looked down at the ground and slowly walked away. No big drama. Just the quiet weight of his choices settling in. Underlines the moral perfectly. Leaves a real impression.
Okay, so the story itself is powerful. But what's really smart about this resource is it doesn't just leave you feeling the lesson. It spells it out.
Makes it explicit.
Right after the story, there's a moral of the story section. No guessing needed. It states the lessons clearly. Lazy people often lose good opportunities.
And the simpler one.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Very direct.
And that explicitness is huge for the learner, cognitively speaking. Think of it as an anchor for the main message.
Like a summary.
Exactly, a direct summary. It taps into that recency effect. You remember things better at the end. So even if the learner was focusing hard on the language and missed some subtleties in the story,
they still get the main point loud and clear.
Precisely. It reinforces the key vocabulary from the story and locks in that central message as something actionable. It's where you get those aha moments.
Yeah, it all clicks into place.
It's a great example of that clear recap and review strategy, making sure the takeaway is absolutely clear.
It almost feels like how kids learn sometimes predictable story than a clear lesson stated. Maybe effective learning isn't always about constant new stuff.
Well, that's stability and predictability.
Yeah.
They make pattern recognition easier, which is fundamental for language. The explicit moral then just confirms those patterns. It works. Hashtag tag 2.2 vocabulary in simple terms. Building real-world language, actually.
Okay, so building on that clarity, the resource then jumps straight into a useful words and vocabulary section. This feels absolutely vital for language learning.
Definitely.
It pulls out specific words from the story they just heard, and crucially, gives simple definitions and practical example sentences. It's not just a word list. It's designed to build functional, usable vocabulary, really explaining vocabulary in simple terms.
And how it presents each word is very deliberate. You can see the thought behind it. Let's look at a few.
Yep.
Lazy, defined as not wanting to work or be active. Simple enough. But the example, he is too lazy to clean his room.
Instantly relatable, puts it in an everyday context.
Exactly. Makes it easy to grasp and use. That's explaining vocab using context.
Mhm.
Then village, a small town.
Huh.
Example, she lives in a peaceful village. Short, simple, visual.
No complex geography needed.
Right, opportunity. A good chance to do something. Example, this job is a great opportunity. Links right back to the story's theme.
Reinforces the word through the narrative. Smart.
Very tired, feeling like you need to rest. Example, I feel tired after walking all day. Universal feeling, easy connection.
Hungry. Wanting food. Example, he was very hungry and wanted to eat. Basic need. Super clear.
Rich man, a man with a lot of money. Example, the rich man built a big house. Connects directly to the character, reinforces who he is.
Okay, and what about maybe tomorrow? That felt important.
Ah, yes. This one's handled brilliantly. It's not just defined literally, it's defined as a common excuse to delay action.
Oh, that's insightful. It's explaining the idiomatic use.
Exactly. The example, he always says maybe tomorrow, but never starts. It nails Tom's character and the whole theme. It shows language isn't just dictionary words. It's how we use them socially. A really practical speaking tool, delivered in clear English.
So this whole section isn't just defining words in a vacuum. It's embedding them in clear, natural, usable sentences.
Right, making them memorable and actionable. You're not just memorizing, you're learning how to communicate effectively. Building blocks for real conversations. Hashtag tag 2.3, repetition and interaction. Practicing real conversations. This is neat.
All right, now we get to a really active part, the practice time, repeat after me section. This is where it really pushes the learner from just listening to actually speaking.
Yes, turning passive into active.
Yeah.
Crucial step. This embodies that idea of repetition and interaction, specifically aiming to model real conversation patterns.
So how does it work? What do they repeat?
It strategically picks key lines. Lines directly from the story's important dialogue or the moral itself, like,
Give me some examples.
okay, like, work. No, sir. It's too hot today.
Tom's excuse.
Yep. Or simply, maybe tomorrow.
His catchphrase.
Right. And then, I'm very hungry. Can you give me some food?
His desperate plea.
And finally, the moral. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today.
So these are all phrases they've just heard, understood, seen in context.
Exactly. Repeating them is active retrieval practice. It strengthens the brain's pathways for those specific phrases.
So it's not just mindless repetition. It's reinforcing what was just learned, physically practicing the sounds and rhythm.
Precisely. Building that muscle memory for pronunciation, intonation, getting the mouth and ears used to authentic English patterns.
And it tells them to repeat each line 2 or 3 times.
Yes, simple instruction, very effective. It builds speaking confidence because they're mimicking the natural rhythm and pauses they heard. It's a form of shadowing.
Shadowing, like following along.
Yeah, it's a well-known technique. You listen to a native speaker and repeat immediately. It trains the mouth muscles, tunes the ear, embeds the flow of the language. This directly provides those practical speaking tools. It's like role-playing with the audio.
Moving from just understanding to actually producing the language.
That's the key step. Boosts retention, builds fluency, helps them achieve that clear, natural English-speaking goal.
That shadowing idea makes a lot of sense. Physically doing it must embed it deeper than just listening.
It absolutely does. It treats language as a physical skill, too, not just mental. Needs practice. Hashtag tag 2.4, reinforcing learning tips for continued progress.
Okay, so to wrap up the analysis of the method, we land on the tips for English learners section. This feels like it's looking beyond the single lesson, right? Encouraging ongoing effort.
Yes, it's about sustained engagement, self-directed learning. Giving them a roadmap for continued improvement. It really shows that friendly, encouraging, consistent tone.
So what kind of tips does it offer?
They're really comprehensive, actually. They hit different learning styles. First, listen to the story again to improve listening skills.
Simple repetition for listening.
Right. Helps catch nuances, intonation missed the first time, solidifies auditory comprehension. A good recap and review tactic.
Makes sense. What else?
Write down new words and their meanings. This connects hearing it with seeing it and physically writing it.
Multisensory learning.
Exactly. Create stronger memory traces for vocabulary, harder to forget.
Good tip. Next.
Retell the story in your own words or act it out. Now this one's brilliant.
Why?
Because you can only retell something if you really understand it. It forces active recall, creative language use, builds fluency. You're moving beyond just repeating to actually generating language, like real role play.
I like that. Okay, any more?
Yeah, practice saying the story aloud, using emotion and voice changes. This focuses on prosody.
Prosody. Like the music of speech.
Exactly. Rhythm, stress, intonation. It conveys so much meaning beyond just the words. Mastering it makes you sound natural, makes you understood better. It's about conveying feeling, not just information. Vital for that clear, natural speaking.
You said one more.
Last one. Share the moral with someone else in English. This pushes them into the real world.
Using the language socially.
Right. Builds confidence, applies the skills meaningfully, turns passive learning into active social use of those practical speaking tools.
Wow. Taken together, those tips really create a whole learning cycle.
They absolutely do. It's a comprehensive loop. Tools for self-practice, catering to different styles.
Yeah.
It provides that motivation and encourages the consistency learners need, a whole ecosystem for growth.
It really drives home that learning a language is a process, not just a one-off lesson.
Definitely. It embodies that idea. Practice today, speak better tomorrow. And it makes you think, right? These strategies, listening again, writing things down, retelling, practicing with feeling, sharing, how could applying those to other things we want to learn unlock new levels for us?
Yeah.
Beyond just language. #tag outro.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really quite impressive how effective the Lazy Man is as a teaching resource. That clear structure, the engaging story, all those explicit teaching elements, the moral, the vocab, the repetition, the tips, it all comes together to make something really accessible but also powerful for English learners.
Yeah, it really proves that profound learning can come from seemingly simple but very well thought out design.
And thinking about that learner persona we discussed, this kind of material is exactly what creates those aha moments, isn't it?
Totally. It balances the need for clear summaries with memorable details, avoids overwhelming the learner. It's the beauty of learning something complex like a new language and a life lesson through simple, structured, effective methods.
It hits all those points. Clear takeaways, builds real vocabulary, models conversations, uses repetition, all with that friendly, encouraging tone.
Exactly. A complete package.
It really makes you wonder, though, this deep dive into how a simple story works so well for language. What other complex topics could be made understandable, accessible, memorable using these kinds of principles?
That's a great question.
Clear narrative, targeted practice, a relatable core story. Imagine applying that to, I don't know, physics, history.
Well, if we connect it to the bigger picture, it really suggests that good teaching, whatever the subject, often boils down to breaking things down intuitively, giving clear, natural examples, and really encouraging that active repetition and application.
Yeah.
Which brings up a final question for you, listening. Where else in your life could applying these principles, breaking it down, clear examples, active practice, unlock some new learning for you? Your job, a hobby, maybe just understanding something complex going on right now.
Definitely food for thought. Well, we hope you enjoyed this look into the art of learning through simplicity. Keep learning, keep exploring, and remember,
Practice today, speak better tomorrow.
we'll catch you on the next deep dive.